representative to the UN has issued a warning to Israel, saying the patience of Damascus is wearing thin. It follows a series of airstrikes on Syrian territory carried out by the Israeli Air Force.
Isn't it high time for the UN Security Council to put a stop to Israel's repeated aggressions against Syria? Or is the only way to attract the attention of the belligerents in this council to exercise our legitimate right to defend ourselves by responding to the Israeli attack on Damascus International Civil Airport with one on Tel Aviv Airport?
Well, the Syrian diplomat there was apparently referring to the Israeli airstrikes on various targets in Syria on Monday. Israel said it had struck facilities belonging to Iranian forces stationed in the country and claimed the attack was in response to a missile being fired into Israeli territory. Syria, in turn, said it had managed to shoot down most of the Israeli missiles. However, reports suggest the air raid claimed the lives of 11 Syrian military personnel. Israel has been carrying out airstrikes against targets in Syria on a regular basis over the past few months.
For our top story this hour, we check in with the Middle East. Syria is now issuing a stern warning toward Israel and threatening to strike Tel Aviv Airport. The threat is seen as direct reactions to strikes by Israeli forces around the vicinity of Damascus International Airport. Syria's permanent representative to the UN, Dr. Bashar al-Jafari, spoke to the UN Security Council Tuesday, urging Israel to stop their continued attacks. He went on to say, is it required to draw attention of the war makers in this council by exercising our legitimate right to defend ourselves and respond to the Israeli aggression on Damascus International Civil Airport in the same way on Tel Aviv Airport. Now, airstrikes near Syria's busiest airport have become a norm for the Israeli Defense Forces. Just last month, a former IDF chief confessed to conducting a large-scale bombing on the country for years. So joining us now to discuss, friend of the show, former Pentagon official Michael Maloof. So Mike, Syria's UN ambassador Bashar al-Jafari, he obviously denounced Israel's military operations in his country against what they claim are Iranian targets, pondering whether Syria should retaliate by striking Ben Gurion Airport in Tel Aviv. What do you make of that sort of rebuke and that sort of language?
Well, I think they're heightening, the tensions are heightening, and there's no question about it, and Israel is actually provoking all of this for its own political reasons. But I think that what I think is going to possibly happen is that Syria is going to, in showing some restraint, wants to take this to the UN Security Council. If they decide to do nothing, then I think the gloves could come off. I think that the Syrians and they have a legitimate concern because they are being attacked and in civilian areas, unprovoked in many respects. But what could occur is that we could have attacks on Israeli aircraft, perhaps and potentially over Lebanon.
Can certainly get very ugly, but.
In a rare admission, Israel's military acknowledged its jets struck positions near Syria's capital of Damascus earlier today. The IDF claims that it targeted Iran's special forces, but at least 4 Syrian soldiers were among the casualties, according to the Russian Ministry of Defense. The Israeli Air Force also inflicted damage on the capital's airport and targeted Syrian air defense systems. I'm joined now by former Pentagon official Michael Maloof and helping us dive into this. Okay, so Michael, I have to ask you, what exactly is Israel's involvement in Syria right now?
Well, their stated notion is to stop Iran from coming into being a threat to Israel. That anything that has to do with Iran, as far as they're concerned, especially in Syria, and as well as what we've seen now in terms of their influence in Lebanon, is something that's non-negotiable as far as the Israelis are concerned. And they have actually announced that they're going to actually increase their bombardment of alleged Iranian sites in Syria, which is a real serious escalation, and it's coming at a very interesting time.
Well, it's the timing of this I have to look at, because right now you're talking about, obviously, the United States and Syria trying to pull back. You're also talking about Russia, other issues that are going on with Syria itself, and yet Israel goes and brings Syria into their equation as well. Can the Middle East handle all of these different turns at this stage?
I think it's reaching a breaking point, because it's just going to take one episode that's out of the norm, that's going to create it's going to light the fuse and blow up the keg. It's just
going to dynamite go across the board.
It's just escalating like crazy. I think that Israel will to answer your question, Israel has an agenda on its own. It's got elections coming up. It's got to in April. It's Netanyahu himself, the prime minister, has a lot of scandal domestically, and he just needs a tail to wag the dog. But it's also having the effect of possibly just dragging the United States into further conflict, which we don't need and want at this time.